Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aging and Spirituality podcast. And this is where we talk about have a fulfilling and joyful life after the age of 60. And I'm Kathy Lee, and our co-host is.
Chris Jensen.
And again, we are so happy to have you here. Today, I'm going to challenge a cultural myth about being over the age of 60 that our purpose and our passion has passed us by. And I'm going to say that's just plain nonsense. Because I really believe, even from my own personal experience, because that this chapter of our life was when we precisely find out so much more who we are and unfold that passion and purpose in a way that we never even were capable of when we were younger. So it gets redefined in a different way. It's more authentic, it's more relaxed, it's easier to naturally express who we are when we get past 60 because it's easier for us to understand how to pay attention to our inner self and to live from that particular place.
Yeah, and
So,
we're less influenced by what others think we should
yes,
be doing, or who we should be.
that's so true. No, I definitely don't worry about what other people are thinking or saying
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
life. There's a real freedom in that,
there is.
Just this last year, you're so right. I was thinking about this. I started a new business in this last year, and it really wasn't on my radar
Mhm.
until it was. And it was out of necessity, really, but it's grown into something that I feel really passionate about because I chose to work with a company that helps people's health. And so like sharing this product used to be something that gave me anxiety, and now it brings me delight because I truly believe it can help people that I'm talking to about it. So I don't feel like I'm interrupting their day or doing something that is going to bother them in any way. I'm sharing information. If they don't want it, that's their choice. There's a lot of people that aren't focusing on their health, which I find stunning because at our age, it's really, really important. But, the whole idea of just loving what you do is something I really have a new outlook on right now. But anyway, that idea that maybe your best year is behind you, no freaking way. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like my best are definitely in front of me, and I have much more skill and capacity and understanding and ability to make them the best years in front of you. So if you're feeling that way, just reshape, reinvent what you're thinking, because this is really um, your purpose is sacred. And after 60, you need to be living it and thinking about it and expressing it. And it's really, really important. So, we're often hearing about, if you're paying attention to the news, which is hard to do these days, but you're going to read headlines about younger people launching startup businesses all the time, especially in the tech world. This is the big thing to be envious about and to think about and that you want to do. You want to be in the tech world. You want to be rich by the time you're 22 years old. You want to have billions of dollars, But do you ever hear them talking about people past 60? Rarely do you hear conversations about that. It's really challenging to find them, but I go looking for those kinds of stories because I know they're out there. And I actually find a lot of them on Substack. There's a lot of people there writing about this particular part of our lives past 60. So if you know what Substack is or no, just go check it out. It's a place where people write newsletters and talk about the stuff that's important to them in their life, and you'll find a lot of very interesting reads there. I was recently reading about a woman who published her first novel, and she was 73 years old. I don't know if I had never, I mean, I published a novel a number of years ago, but if I had gotten to 73, I just don't think I'm going to be thinking about my first book. Probably won't be on my mind, but think about what an accomplishment that is. Think about the hurdles mentally and emotionally she had to get over to get to that place where she actually wrote it. And there's others that have done it in their 80s, in their 90s. Like nothing is impossible.
At my daughter's college graduation, there was an 85-year-old woman who graduated with them. They had her speak at the
I
graduation,
love that.
and it was so
Wow.
beautiful. The students, all the rest of the students gave her a standing ovation.
This
And
is law school you're talking about, right?
no, this was at college. This was at college.
Oh, college. I
Yeah.
got you. Oh my God, 85.
Yeah, but it was awesome. And she said, I always wanted to get my degree. I don't remember what the degree was, but she said, I always wanted to finish And now I've done it,
Yeah.
and it was awesome. It was so inspiring,
Yeah. And that accomplishment is just as important as some guy who made a gazillion bucks building a company.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's all within your,
yeah,
perspective in your life. And
right,
so
absolutely.
that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
So, think about what some of your friends are doing. Like, take a look at your neighborhood and your community. I bet you're going to find people like we're talking about right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
People in their 80s that are doing things like, well, I started a neighborhood garden, or I do these things and I go and I feed my neighbors because they can't afford to pay for their lunch or whatever, whatever it is. There's all kinds of neighborhood news out there. Go out and find those stories because they will really inspire you, if nothing else, to do your own thing, to do things that you think, well, that would be really kind of to do to help somebody, but you think about it, you put it in your back pocket, you go home and you do nothing, but when you see other people doing it, it really inspires you to do the same kind of thing, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, why not you?
Yeah.
Think about it that way. If they can do it, why not you?
Mhm.
So this episode is really about practical steps that you can take right now, no matter what your background is, your experience, wherever you are in your life right now. You can tap into that deeper purpose and you can feel how unique it is to you,
Mhm.
understand what it is, and find a way to express it in a way that brings you joy in
Mhm.
the process of doing it, because that joy that you connect to every time you get out of bed, that's what will keep you going. That's what will make it, important for you to accomplish,
Mhm.
and just, forgetting about it. So this little next section, I call it the purpose toolkit. We're going to really encourage a personal breakthrough for you here right now. So whoever's
Love
listening
it.
up,
I'm
grab a pen, grab a paper.
okay.
We're gonna do an exercise.
Here we go. I got mine.
Chris is ready.
I'm ready. I am ready.
So there's going to be 3 steps here, and they're designed to really help you connect to your joy, your inner joy.
Mhm.
Take a look at whether or not you have any self-doubt that might be holding you back at any given moment in expressing that particular joy. And then the last step will be to really move into taking action
Hmm.
on this particular thing that you would like to do.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to actually do it. So step number 1,
Mhm.
map your joys and your strengths.
Okay.
So everybody out there, if you don't have a notebook, or if you're driving, of course, you're not going to do that, but just mentally, you're going to think about 3 activities that make you lose track of time.
Hmm.
For some, it's gardening, playing the piano, coaching a friend, singing, whatever it is. You lose all sense of time. When you come back from doing it, you wonder, wow, where did that 4 hours go? I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives you a few minutes. If you're still writing, just go ahead and keep writing. For me, it was, of course, meditating. That's probably a cheat there because
But it
because
is. I mean, that's a joy.
it is a joy. It definitely is. But it's so that I mean, that's the whole purpose of meditating, is to lose track of time. But that is what definitely one of my favorite things to do. Reading, music, they all are things that I can do that will make me lose track of time. Playing with a dog will make me lose track. Playing with a baby for sure. Crap, I could do that forever and
Mhm.
forget the rest of the world and just, follow a baby around. And then being in nature does that for me too.
Mhm.
So those are good ones for me.
Yeah.
And list 3 strengths that people often thank you for, like your friends. If you were to ask your friends, if I'm not there, what is missing? What are the characters that you bring into the relationship, into the room when you enter? Could be empathy, could be your sense of humor. What is it that people notice about you and that they really miss when you're not there? These are really important ones to know. And if you're struggling with these and you're not sure how your friends perceive you, this is a great exercise to go and ask them.
Yeah,
Go, go in and ask your best friend, what is it about me that you like? Like when I come into the room, what do I bring? And if I'm not there, what is it that's missing?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what that does is it really helps you identify what your sacred project kind of is on the planet. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
because expressing it naturally, who you are,
Yeah.
express it naturally. Like when I walk into a room, I bring kindness and compassion and openness, and if I'm feeling safe, I am going to talk my head off, like. Bling, bling. So I'm a real sharer. I like to spread joy. I like to connect with people. I can literally walk into a grocery store and just see a total ass stranger and my heart will just light up,
Hmm.
just, and I was telling Chris a story today about being in a doctor's office and just having this profound sense of gratitude that I could have the medical care that I needed at that time, but then followed with this great sense of sadness that everybody else didn't have it. But see how that tells you that's my heart, man. It is just open, big, expansive, full of gratitude, but at the same time, like, oh gosh, it could be a little different, so those are sacred clues about who you are. And
Mm.
if you really look at those things that your friends say, God, nobody does that like Chris, or nobody does that like Jenny, or whatever. Those are your gifts. Those are your gifts and your talents and your strength that God has given you, and they'll help you really understand how to express your purpose. It'll be through those particular aspects of who you are. Those gifts and strengths are the things that you'll use to express your purpose when you know what it really, really is on an authentic level. So, okay, we're going to take a minute to just get, not too long because we don't have a lot of silence on a talk show, but we're going to take a minute to just quiet down the inner critic, because when you start to do this one at
That's
first,
important. Yeah.
you focus on yourself, then your ego starts waving its hand like, warning, warning, danger, danger. Remember that old show, the
Yeah.
robot,
Yeah.
warning,
Yeah.
warning, danger,
Yeah.
danger.
Yeah.
That the ego will try to jump in there every damn time. So we're going to take a look at that and see what happens. So wherever you are, as long as you're not driving, just take a minute and go ahead and sit and close your eyes for just a minute.
Okay.
And just reflecting on the exercise that we just did, which was to think about the activities that make you lose track of time. This is where your joy lives. And the strengths that people often say, God, you're so good at that. I just love it when you fill in the blank. Or they're the ones where the person picks up the phone and says, I really need you to, whatever that talent and skill and gift is that God has given you, that sacred way of being that is uniquely you. Think about that and then notice, are there thoughts going through your mind that make you doubt expressing your gifts and talents? Just pay attention. And I would spend a lot of time here because
Mm.
my experience when I do this, with coaching clients is that instantly. you know instantly if there's a doubt there, and your brain will tell you differently, and you'll open your eyes and you'll start talking stuff that is not true most of the time, but instantly if you had a doubt about being able to express who your authentic self truly is. Because I'll liken it to this kind of process. Like, people think they want to be famous, but if they knew what famous really meant, they'd be running the other way fast, because it comes with a lot of cost. But that idea of wanting to be famous is literally the need to just be seen and heard by other people,
Mm.
to get that
Right.
feedback,
Right. Right.
because
Well,
you're alive.
what I find is like if I get really excited about something and then there's a hesitation like that, then
Mhm.
I know there's some kind of inner stop sign going on.
inner stop sign, the inner policeman just
In a
came down.
policeman that's coming down at with
Yeah,
some kind of limitation, you know?
it's 100% true.
Yeah.
And here's the point, and Chris is really right. What she's saying here is that the um the blockage, the thing that's stopping you, is often really, really invisible. And it's always fear. It's always fear. Love
Always
doesn't
fear of something. Yeah.
fear of something, and most of the time it's fear of being seen.
Mm.
And the beauty of getting older is that as you start to understand who you are authentically, that fear of getting seen gets less and less. The realization that you are who you are, what makes you joyful, the gifts and talents that you can naturally express to other people. If you stop yourself from doing that, that's the part of you that's stopping yourself from being authentic. And
Mhm.
those are the things that you want to weed out. You want to know if those little self-doubts are running through your mind. Take a look at them and go, why? Why would you think that? Why would you say? And let them go. Let
Mhm.
them go. Don't think that you have to be attached to them. You don't have to do some big ass healing process to take care of them. Just acknowledge that they're there. That's the first thing, and let them go. They don't have to influence you anymore. I'm going to give you some affirmations to work with that as a tool, but that's all you got to do. Be aware of it. Awareness is the first step in changing something and transforming it. You know that that doubt is there, and you've actually stopped yourself, and you're thinking to yourself, why wouldn't I want to express my joy? Why wouldn't I want to express my gifts and talents? This makes no sense. Why am I afraid to be seen? You know, did something happen to make me feel like, oh God, if I get seen, something not so fun is going to happen, right? Be aware of that. You want to get to that place where being seen feels good, feels good. Friends, happy people,
Yeah, it,
places.
it does. When someone really sees who you are and appreciates it, there's nothing better.
There's nothing better.
There's nothing
Yeah.
better. It's that feeling of, oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And like I said about when I, walking through the grocery store, this is a gift that I've had since I was a little kid. I see another kid, a person, another person, and my heart just lights up just immediately. I love people on a very deep level. It doesn't matter if they're complete and utter strangers to me. The idea that God has put another presence there in my path, that there's that holy aspect of that sacred being there walking around in that body, gives me just like utter delight. And I love that. And I love that about me and who I am. So I would never stop expressing that unless maybe I felt unsafe in a situation. But this is the kind of thing we're talking about in terms of finding your joy in your own authentic kind of expression. So if you find that you get in a place where you do have a feeling like the policeman just came in and put the stop sign up,
Yeah.
just take big deep breath, you
Mhm.
know, realize it's there. Inhale through. This is one I've been doing recently. I inhale through my nose and I lift my shoulders and I say peace. And then I exhale and I say release and I let my shoulders go down. And all the energy that's being trapped up here in the brain and in the mind and across the shoulders just relaxes. Peace, release. And it just
I like
unlocks.
it.
Doesn't that feel good? She's the pranayama queen. She loves it, then that's good. That's a good thing.
It feels
So
so
use
good.
that. Feels really, you're funny.
Feels good to me. Hey, we taught my 3-year-old grandson to
Yeah.
do some deep breathing, to try and like when he gets frustrated or
Yes. Good
and
start.
so he knows he does what breath work. That's what we taught him to do.
I
So
love it.
he was showing my husband, who's been doing yoga for many years,
Yeah.
and he didn't know exactly what breath Bo was doing. So Bo was showing to him, and he wasn't doing no. And so Bo said to him, "No, that's not right. Watch me."
So we're thinking Bo's a teacher somehow because he knows how to do everything right.
Right,
Oh,
right.
you
But
gotta love
you
that.
know,
That's awesome.
the confidence of someone as a child
Yeah,
to do that. Like if we learn as we grow up, we start getting inhibited about things like that.
that's it. Yeah.
And there's some balance that we need to have, but nevertheless, you just try to let that naturalness flow, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Okay, so back onto okay, you hit the place where you might have some kind of self-doubt. Do the release with the breath. And then as you're breathing out, just silently say to yourself, when I feel a call to do something, I accept it as mine. I am worthy of new beginnings.
Mm,
That's one thing that you can say that acknowledges this is me and this is happening to me and this is who I am. And I accept that. And it's perfectly okay. It's more than perfectly okay. It's great.
that's
And
awesome.
I am worthy of doing it. And I am worthy of, having all kinds of new experiences and new beginnings. So that's a great affirmation for that kind of a process. It really will interrupt that negative self-talk and
Hmm.
remind you that, you have amazing experience, especially when we're talking about people that are over 60. Amazing experience and wisdom that have become your gifts, right? So don't forget that. So
I think it's also good to recognize if you're stepping into new areas to say to yourself, it's okay if I make a mistake. That's how I learn. That's how you learn.
Okay, so we're at that process where we become aware, we know we can let go, we affirm the new presence, and then, the third step is to really commit yourself to taking that action out in the outside world that allows you to have that authentic expression without the limitation, without that thing that you uncover and you let go of. See what it feels like to express without that doubt. Go do something new, with this affirmation of you're worthy of new beginnings. Find something new that you might want to do, if it's maybe signing up for an art class or just calling an old friend and brainstorming a project that you would love to do together, or maybe it's sketching or writing. A lot of people love to write these days, just writing down your feelings or writing down new ideas, planning for something that you want to build or like take that energy of that newness without the blockage, without the stopping yourself, and bring that out into the world so you can build that new practice, that new way of being. It becomes a habit for you. You really create this momentum, creates energy, and it creates a kind of clarity for you, so it's operating in a whole different way. So, I'm going to just give you this one last example before we come to the end of our little conversation today. And I was going to tell you a story about how I was having real trouble making calls to people about my new business. And this is because in my mind, I don't like to be sold, and I don't like people trying to sell me.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt really not authentic having to have that conversation like, hey, I'm selling the product. Do you want to hear about it? Kind of thing. Somewhere along the line, and that was hard. For months, I couldn't really pick up a phone and call people and just say, hey, I really want to talk about this new thing. But somewhere along the line, I realized I shifted that because I have been taking the products and I know that they're helping me a lot. I got into a place where I felt like this is a really good thing. I believe in the product. I believe in the company. They are a kind of company I've never seen before. And there is nothing bad or wrong with me sharing that with other people. It's my personal limitation that stops me from wanting to have the conversation. In fact, I can switch that around now and say, if I don't share this with them, they're missing out because they're the ones that are struggling with lack of energy or brain fog or whatever it is that they're having trouble with. And I know something that could help them. So why the heck wouldn't I tell them about it?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've learned a way to like satisfy my own need to uh, express it in a way that isn't obnoxious and in your face and obtrusive, and you know be with people without having to do it if I want, or when the subject comes up saying, hey, I've had this experience, I really want to tell you about it, are you open to hearing, that kind of thing. So it feels like a thing that it feels like a big step for me because I would have stopped myself before from actually selling just so I didn't have to face that part of myself that was just really uncomfortable with that process. So I've learned to have to connect with people in an entirely different way. Sometimes I'll connect with somebody new, but this is the habit that I'm creating, right? Connecting with new people. And sometimes I won't say one darn thing about it because it just doesn't seem right or it doesn't seem appropriate. And sometimes it's exactly what I need to be talking about. So that's just an example of what I mean by being authentic. Is it something that resonates with who you are inside, that aligns with your integrity, aligns with your truth, and you're clear that it's part of your purpose? And helping people has been part of my purpose my whole life.
I,
So this just happens to be with the physical body.
yeah, I'll share one classic example of mine.
Okay, great.
People told me not to sing. I could,
Oh, yeah.
they always said that, don't sing, don't open your mouth, blah, blah, blah. And I was very inhibited. I'm a pretty confident person in most areas, but I was very inhibited about it. But
Mhm.
in the yoga class, I really wanted to be able to play the harmonium and sing a chant.
Mhm.
And then actually the yoga master at the center one day said to me, oh, he wanted me to sing notes with him. And I tried. And he said, you see, he said, you can do it. He said, no one ever taught you. And it made it feel like I needed to do it. So Kathy turned me on to a really great singing teacher. So my first session with him was hilarious. I came in, like totally no confidence. And he said to me, there's nothing mysterious about singing. It's two things. One, it's the muscles need to memorize the position. And he said, we'll work on that. He said, the other thing is confidence. And he
Yeah.
said, clearly you have no confidence. And he said, I hate when people tell people they can't sing because everybody can sing.
Yeah.
I believed him. And we did, like the first series of lessons, we just worked on me matching notes and doing scales and things. And ended up, I stayed with him for quite a while. We wrote songs together. When I stopped going, he told me that the songs he wrote with me, he thought were some of the best he'd done. And it was like going 1,000 miles from where I was, that person when I walked in the door. And, you know,
Yep.
but that was a big thing I had to break through,
But
and
it was authentic, that part of, and what I'm hearing her say, just in case you guys hear it differently, because I've heard her tell this story before, but what it was for Chris, from my point of view, watching her, was that she believed people when they said you can't sing. And then all of a sudden, bang, turned around. This guy was kind. This was his gift, his sacred gifts, where he was a very kind, compassionate guy. I remember Tom.
mm,
And he said, of course you can sing. This is about, learning pitch. And then I'll tell you the technique of how you get the air out of your breath, how you get the air out of your mouth and what to do with it. Basically, you learn the technique and anybody can sing. And you transformed your life. And I remember it because you started writing poetry and I would get, next thing I know, you're writing songs. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Like, I never saw you doing that before, like, and there was a natural gift, talent in there that you weren't using because some dork told you you couldn't sing.
right. And my heart felt so open and free. It was like something
Yeah,
that was closed off. Mm,
it was very creative, period, for you.
yeah,
For
very
sure.
creative.
I don't think it ever went away. I think you still, carry that with you today.
Yeah,
It was part of who you were that was blocked off, and now it's completely open,
it's
and
just there. Yeah,
you do it anytime that you want. And that's kind of how it works, listeners. You open up these parts of yourself, and you really have access to them
you have
anytime.
access to it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's really good, before we end here, one of the great visualizations, we won't do it with you now, but take this, write this down and do it later. And that is just close your eyes and imagine yourself a year from now. And what are you engaged in? What that you're passionate about, that brings you joy, that fulfills your purpose. Just imagine what might that look like. And then live it backwards. Bring that person into your space, your current space, who she is, what she looks like, what she feels like,
Mm.
bring bring her back into your current vibe. And you will encourage that growth to happen like right away. You won't have to be waiting a year from now. That'll just kind of open up for you, you know?
Yep.
See yourself really living into that future vision and hold on to that feeling. Okay. So just remember, listeners, it's your wisdom and your voice and your purpose and your gifts and your talents. These are the things that the world needs from us. You know, this is our season after 60 to truly shine, to be joyful, to be who we are. Don't let that get by you. Don't forget that. Okay. So and just keep trusting your intuition, keep taking one courageous step after another, helping people, connecting with other people, being that amazing sacred person that you are inside. Hope you enjoyed
I'm
it.
ready. I'm ready.
You are definitely ready. See you next week, everyone. Take
Everybody.
care. Bye.